here we go. Hi, everybody. John Harris back with you with the Public John podcast, a real special one because it's bringing up one of my favorite, pretty new comics, at least new to me, and he's pretty new doing it, I think, as far as some other folks are concerned. But he's really very funny. So I want to get him out here. His name is Roger Rebegilla, right? Did I say it right, Rod?
Wow, John, you got it.
Woo!
Very nice.
Thank
Thank
God.
you.
Thank God for phonetics, right? Reading is fundamental, man.
We worked on that 20 minutes before the show. You
I
finally
know
got
I
it.
did. It was like, okay, you test me, and I failed like 9 out of 10 tests. So the number 11 worked. Before we get started, I do want to mention our sponsor, friend of mine, Dennis and Graldi in Vineland, New Jersey, of all places, folks. For those of you watching local, though, he can still help, believe it or not. He's in charge of Vineland Realty Corporation at 634 East Landis Avenue in Vineland, New Jersey. Their phone number is 856-690-9482. And if you give them a call, even if you're not from the Vineland area, Dennis and those folks have some great resources all around the country to be able to make phone calls for you and help you as to where to go and find out. But if you're in that South Jersey area, business, residential, whether you're buying, leasing, trying to find a property to open a business, whatever you need to do in the real estate market, Dennis and his crew down there at 634 East Landis Avenue in their offices can help you. Again, that's Vineland Realty Corporation, 856-690-9482. We thank Dennis and all the folks down there for helping us and supporting us ever since we started all these Public John things. Dennis has been there since day one. So thanks, pal, and thanks to everybody down there. And we're going to get this thing rolling so you get what you pay for, pal. Okay. um, so, Roger, tell me first off, I do smoke a cigar now and then. What kind you smoking? What are you smoking
So
there?
these cheap backwoods. I know it's
Ah,
not
I've
the
been known
highest.
to hit the backwoods. I mean, I'll do anything from a I'll say Cuban, anything from a Cuban or Dominican wrap to a backwoods or black and mild or whatever floats my boat that day. It can be,
I'm
you know.
mixing that with a little drink I got here in my daughter's Taylor Swift cup. I've been saying some mean things about Taylor Swift, so
Oh, so you got to pay the price today, buddy.
not a complete hater. Here we go.
There it is. I'm just doing what everybody that knows me knows best is I'm having some coffee, but I did ice it down today a little bit. But
Very nice.
one
I'm
vice I have left.
very excited. I clipped my fingernails and I brushed my teeth. So
You know,
let's do this.
I can tell. I've seen you other days, and this is kind of a big improvement.
Yeah,
Um,
cleaning up
thank
my
God
act.
you took the teeth out, brushed them out, put them back in. That's awesome. Thank you for spending that prep time. We appreciate it.
I think you're confusing me with another friend.
Oh, oh, could be. But then again, I don't know if I have too many friends, so I don't know if I confuse you that way. But I know what you're saying. And I think I even know who, but that's a whole different, we won't go there. Because we know why. So uh, Roger is going to be on a show with me, and I'll move my shoulders a little bit so you can see him. His name is Benedict Dabrowski. It's actually Ben who's putting on the show with Benedict Dabrowski Comedy at the Doghouse. You can see me point. I don't know if you can see that. I'm trying to figure it out. There it is, right here. Well, you can
The
see it.
doghouse
Top
in
left of the
Rossville,
screen
Kansas.
in Rossville, Kansas. That the Doghouse. It even says it's off the chain, baby. Which this show is going to be off the chain, I think, because
Exciting. I mean, Ben's really hit his stride. Shout out to Ben. He's been promoting shows here left and right. I
yeah,
just
yeah,
did one a couple of weeks ago, sold out in Silver Lake. So we're
yep.
hoping for the same result.
I
That was a
saw
great crowd.
and
Ben's
we've
doing
been on a few shows with him and that he's put on, and it's great, and other shows with him. So he's out there, man. He's doing the legwork, he's doing the footwork, and people are being responsive. That's what's really good is people are really responding to his efforts, and of course with all the comics that have been really funny, he's put some good lineups out there too, and that's
absolutely.
what keeps shows selling out too, is that you get a good reputation for how good the shows are. So yeah, this Ben Dabrowski's putting us on, and we're going to be there March 2nd. It's a Saturday night. Going to be a lot of fun. Doors open, I believe, at 7. Show starts at 8. Going to be a good time. So don't miss it. It is going to be off the chain. There we go.
Good job.
Your old white
And you
guy.
didn't mention You didn't mention Dylan Howell, this young
I was
man. He's
just
18
gonna
years
say,
old.
I was gonna ask you to go ahead and talk about Dylan. I've
Yeah,
seen him.
no,
He's very funny and very
very
high
funny,
energy.
very young.
Young guy.
Yeah, young, great stage presence. I mean, this kid's the future. I saw him a couple of times at open mics, and honestly, I was jealous. I couldn't be doing that at
I
18
know.
years old.
I saw him at the last open mic, and I'm going tomorrow, and I'm sure he may be there tomorrow. But you're right. He's very funny. He's got high energy. He's a young guy, but he'll tell you he's a young guy. He kind of makes fun of.
Yep,
He's going to be the real deal. You're right. If he keeps
yep.
the trajectory going a little bit,
And
learns
he
how
does
to
a lot of
write and
writing.
he's got good stage presence. He's got nice high energy stage presence, and I really like that. Yeah, he's going to be good. He's going to be our host. Uh, and then the lineup goes from there. So it'll be a fun time. Uh, so Raj, let me start. I shouldn't presume I can call you Raj. I should. Uh,
Call me Rod. Rod works. I've been called worse.
if you haven't, then you haven't left the house.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I've done comedy.
same with me. I mean, I always say that the reason this is called the public John is my parents named me after a public facility. There was no special name in the name John at all. Um, So listen, I gotta ask you a few questions since I know you've been doing this for a little bit now. How long have you actually been doing stand-up comedy?
So it's going on 2 years actually. 2 years I think will be in April. And I started out under Ben. So Ben had an open mic here in St. Mary's, and he
I
asked me if I
remember
wanted
that.
to come.
Yeah,
He did a couple, so I was like, you know what? I've always wanted to do comedy, and it was just like, all right, if I don't do it now, I never will. And I
yep,
went out there, and it was better than better than you would expect for a first time, and that kind of gave me the energy and the motivation to keep doing it. So that was something.
that's good. That's good. Yeah, I remember him having that open mic. I think by the time I got there, it was the last couple, and unfortunately, it had waned a little bit. So that's when he decided that it wasn't worth the effort anymore. Um, but I know in the beginning it was very successful. So that was a good place to start. I remember the room. So uh,
Yep, right in St. Mary's.
excellent. Do you remember the best night you've had in comedy?
Oh,
Where it
I've
might
had
have been
several.
and what you did and how it went, that kind of thing.
Yeah, really, the best night's got to be the Silver Lake night. So they let me headline that, and I think we had about 90 strong there, full room, everyone attentive. The
Awesome.
jokes were hitting. Yeah, I had a couple tables of local friends, but a lot of just people that were out there for comedy, and that was great. I've had great nights at open mics, really just gone out there and killed even with some new material, but that one really stands out. The Silver Lake night is probably the best night I've had so far.
Oh, that's great. It's really fun when everything hits.
Yeah.
Yeah, when the crowd really appreciates it. That's really good. All right, this is the tough one. What was the worst night that you remember?
Oh boy. I've had several. So man, I had a night that I didn't do too bad, but I kind of ruffled some feathers. And that one left a little bad taste in my mouth. But the worst one was really when it was kind of up and starting. I went out there thinking I was doing well, and I did new material. So I did a couple open mics. I was doing well, doing well, doing well. Feeling like I'm an actual comic, which is like the crazy thing that you think when you're first starting off. And
Yeah.
I went and completely bombed. I mean, bad. And I remember the next day I was like, I never want to do this again. And a couple days later, it's like, no, you're just gonna give up. Like, are you just gonna give up?
Right. You
Really?
got to get back on the horse.
You
Yeah.
took me like it felt like I got punched in the gut having a bad night. I don't know if you can relate to that.
Yeah. Yeah, I have had some bad. I actually did have a bad night about 3 months ago in Topeka, of all places. I did a show and did the material.
Happy Bastard or
No, at the Foundry. I was actually in a show, and for some reason, uh, I don't know if it was my energy level or what, but nothing I said hit, which was the first time I've had that happen out here, I think. Um,
Mhm.
but it happens every. I get a feeling that I don't ever blame the audience. I mean, sometimes I'll say it's a tough crowd, but
Yeah,
uh, I really, in my cases at least, believe I need to figure out a way to make them laugh. That's the challenge for me. It's part of why I do it. If,
absolutely.
if
And I
things
figured
don't,
out with that sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, John.
no, you're
You kind
good.
of
You're
figure
good.
out a formula. You figure out a formula. So I've kind of gone in there, trying to get a couple of laughs early,
Right.
some established quick
Absolutely.
laughs. and then working off that. Because if you go in dry and you lose them, then they're not coming back.
No,
You want to pay attention, even if you have
you
great
can't
guys
get them back.
following that, it's
And
hard to
that's
get them back.
part of why I stay away from certain subjects too, because if you say certain things, in my case, like I don't do very many political jokes because you're going to upset somebody in the room no matter what.
Yeah, and I do pull a joke.
I mean, yours aren't,
I think it's
yours,
funny, and
right. Yours aren't really pointed and aren't really derogatory extremely to one side or the other. And I've
they're
seen,
jokes.
right, they're jokes. And most people take, some people though do that kind. And it's, if you've got a room that you know all of them are going to be with you, okay. But otherwise, you're going to lose some people in the room. Uh, and there's enough other things
Yeah,
in
if
life
they're
to
all
make
with you,
fun
and
of.
they're speaking at a rally.
Yeah, yeah. But there's other things, enough things in other things in life to make fun of rather than just so me personally, I steer away from it. Most of mine is self-deprecating. And
Yeah,
yours is a little bit, and yours is also about your family life, which um you let people know that you are Catholic. So
yep.
but that's got to give you some material too.
It does, yeah. So I'm a proud Catholic. Absolutely not a saint by no means, but I have a wife, 5 kids, and yeah, my religion, the Catholic faith here is very important to me, and I feel like one of the reasons I got into comedy was kind of like represent the Catholics out there. There aren't too many like openly practicing Catholics, and I think that you need to take up space and represent that. So kind of what I do, and that's why I try to stay from being dirty, being more
Right,
family friendly for the most part. And
right.
yeah, so far it's been pretty good. You know the dirty joke is the easy one,
Yeah, yeah.
and I've kind of found my way around that, trying to find my way around actually making dirty jokes. So that's
Yeah.
where I'm
I
at.
mean, yeah, and it can be. Don't get me wrong, I'm no prude, like you said. And if I really like one, I'll tell it. But me personally, I don't get into really filthy, really vulgar kind of material because i- if I don't think it's funny, then I can't, it's hard for me to portray that to someone else. Because I've
Absolutely,
had
yeah.
a couple people write a couple jokes for me to go, oh, Johnny, coming from you, this would be great. And I'd look at him and I went, I tried one night a few years ago, and the joke was funny. It fit one of the premise that I do, um, and it got some laughs, but I felt so awkward saying it, and it didn't get enough laughs for me to justify keeping it in. So I
Mhm.
decided to
And
drop.
that's low humor. It's
Right.
low humor. Yeah, you can get a laugh out of it. It's
Yeah, you can
as
get a
long as
couple laughs, but sometimes to me, if I'm not, no matter what it is, if I'm not comfortable saying it, I'm probably not going to project it right in whatever I'm saying. So it's not going to get the laughs that maybe somebody else could get with it. So they can have it. It's
yeah.
like
So I know you told me this, John. Where are you from? You from the Philly area? Because I know you did a lot of work in
originally,
Jersey.
yeah, originally just outside Atlantic City. So I did Atlantic City stuff, Philly stuff, uh, a lot of South Jersey stuff, a lot of New York stuff. I got to go to Broadway and into Dangerfields in Manhattan and
Oh,
a
that's
few
cool.
other clubs, Laughing Buddha, Sidewalk, a
And
couple
what's
other.
the difference between comedy like in a big market like that compared to local?
I think you have to know. Um, well, part of it is you have to know your audience, but and your audience is based a lot of times on the geographical tendencies. Like you got to know New York; those folks are cutting edge. They don't mind if it's darker. They actually prefer that, more pointed. Uh, Here, you've got to realize your audience is a little bit different, a little more laid back. What you're talking about in Philly, New York, DC, Baltimore, those kinds of places, you want hard hitting and almost a more rapid pace
Yeah.
because everything they do is at a rapid pace in their lives. Boom, 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 boom. That's what they're used to. Even stories, you got to edit them and get to you the jokes in the story quicker, and then of course eventually the ending, the punch. But
Mhm.
here, uh, most of the time it works if you're a little more laid back. And I'm not saying laid way back. Like your demeanor is very good because it doesn't lecture people. You look like you're retelling, you're telling uh
Yeah. Well, I
fact.
hate the whole lecturing.
Yeah, you're telling
I hate
fact,
the lecturing
you're
comedian.
relating to people. And that's what you have to do more of here a little bit is relate to people. The East Coast, if you're going at a certain pace, you're automatically relating to people. So it can be the audiences can be a little different by nature, by where they are. I've actually found it, believe it or not, a little bit in Topeka and in Manhattan because they're college towns, or at least have colleges in them, that they're a little different than, we'll say, Rossville or Silver Lake. Um, so it is different.
And I feel there's a difference even between Topeka and Manhattan.
I was just going to say that was next on the list. Yeah, because it's more college town in Manhattan.
Yeah. And then Topeka's more of that working
Because Kansas State University really is the hub of Manhattan, so you're going to get no matter what. Topeka, uh, you've got Washburn, you got a couple other smaller ones, but you're also got a mix of the people in the city. So, but it's a more laid back area out here. Um, so telling certain things, and I think you've got to relate more to people. Like here, certain things relate to people only in Kansas or only in this general area. That if you go tell that joke in New York or Philly, AC, they're going to be like, I don't
So
get it.
here's a typical Kansas premise, and this is one I've been working on for a long time. It's something that it's only someone from the Midwest would know. You know, the one Kansas farmer feeds 128 people
Yeah,
plus you.
I've seen
And I've
that.
been working on one of those for a long time. And tomorrow, I actually think I have a joke that's actually going to work off that. I'm not going to use it here, but yeah, you set that
Hey,
up.
if if you can't make the show Saturday, there's nothing wrong with coming out to Top City's open mic at Happy Bassett in Topeka. That's always a lot of fun, and you'll see guys like Roger and me and a few other folks try out some newer material. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad. You don't know what you're going to get because it's an open mic, but it can be a lot of fun.
And let's give a big shout out to those guys over there, Vicky, and Dan. They're
The
incredible.
Vicky Tremblay and Dan Shank put on great shows. They've got the ones
Great
every
show.
Friday night now in Topeka. I went to the one last week. It was really good show. Um,
Yeah,
yeah,
Cody.
Cody closed it out, and Dan and Vicky were on it, so it was a pretty good show. It was a really good show.
And they do an amazing job of giving opportunities to young comedians. I did a couple open mics there, and they're like, "Hey, you want to open up a show?"
Yeah,
Amazing opportunity. Maybe something you don't get in a big city.
that's right. That's true. That's
Oh
true.
yeah, Vicky, Dan, thank you guys.
Yeah,
You guys
thank
doing
you guys.
amazing job.
They do reach out and give comics a chance, and local comics. And they've
Mhm.
had some folks go on uh and be pretty successful from starting with the Top City Comedy open mic. So that's pretty good. Um,
Well, who? Cody's what?
Cody,
Brett Schmidt.
yeah,
You know any other one?
they mentioned a couple. Like I said, my memory's like a sieve. Stuff just runs through it. But they have mentioned some folks, and I'm like, oh, okay. And they started with you, so it's pretty good. Uh, and uh, and they both go on stage, and they're both good comics as well.
Yeah,
So
they're
it's
good cops, good
so
people.
it's not like I heard something funny. This guy's funny. Let me put him on. They know what it takes to do that. So that's great, and that thank you for that shout out because that's where I was going to go anyway, or started to.
Yeah,
They've really
Vicky's
been
a
good
great
to.
lady. Vicky's great. I'd consider Dan like a personal friend. We've hung out with
Yeah.
them. We've gone to me and my buddies went out with them to a steakhouse, and we just had a great time.
Oh yeah, yeah. I've seen him a few times away from as well. He's a
They're
good
real
guy.
people. He's funny.
Yeah. Um. So let me ask you this: have you run into too many times when you've had hecklers?
Not much actually. Not much as far as hecklers, and if there were, they were kind of weak. You know,
Yeah.
they didn't come with.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
were throwing roses. They weren't throwing like rotten tomatoes. So
Oh, okay. Well, in that case, that's not so bad.
yeah,
Um,
no. Not so bad. So yeah, I still need to get to that point. I'm sure the day's gonna come that they're gonna come after me.
If it doesn't, then you haven't really experienced stand up yet. Uh, there's a couple different kinds of them. I've experienced both. There's the kinds that try to attack you personally when you're on stage, uh, and then there's the other kind that just want to involve themselves in you or maybe everybody's act, and they just start trying to discuss stuff or be involved in the act when you're trying to move on. And those ones sometimes can be tricky because it could be a level of um, they're just a minor annoyance to
Yeah.
just won't shut up. And then
Hmm.
you usually you can tell the audience is starting sometimes to get miffed. They might have a few of their friends think it's funny, but the majority of the audience, you can start to see them going, is this guy telling jokes to them or all of us? You know?
So I've had that. I've had that several times, and I don't mind those guys at all, especially unless I'm trying to hit a punchline. If you're trying to
Right.
hit a punchline and they're intervening, and it just come on, man.
Yeah.
Otherwise, sometimes it helps carry on your
Sometimes it does. And sometimes the rest of the crowd likes that because if
yeah.
you give it back to them a little bit, I mean, I
Give it
don't
to them or
personally really insult them. Like if somebody's doing, I won't go, well, listen, you fat man. That doesn't do anything. But if you can play back off what they said and involve them a little bit, then that's great. I had hecklers like that my very first night. And uh it made my first night that I wasn't planning on doing. It made my first night the most fun night. And it did give me the bug that, okay, I want to keep doing this. And then
yeah.
everybody was like, oh man, thanks for doing it. Cause he had involved himself and everybody all night long. And then, and it was an open mic in Atlantic City and there were people walking off the stage because they didn't want to finish their thing. Cause this guy just, and then he got that in his head and he thought he could do it to everybody. And then I got up and I got nothing to lose because I went up thinking this is my 5 minute bucket list. The guy convinced me to do it. I wasn't even going to do it. I went there to watch, but he knew somebody who knew somebody, and that person kept telling him, "You got to get this guy on stage if he ever comes out." So
Yeah.
I really nothing. Couple ideas I wrote on paper. He goes, "It's an open mic. You can take it up with you." You know? And I
Hmm.
just went up with those two ideas and kind of riffed, and this guy kept trying to interrupt, and finally I was able to he left an opening toward the end and it was like boom and I just went and in the back the host is telling me to stretch it because everybody's laughing and I felt really good, so I stretched it a little bit, figured out a way to close it out, and then guys are thanking me and everything else, and it was really that fun night, that. And I'm
You had
like,
a good
your first
set.
night, huh?
You had a good first set.
Yeah, very first show, good night with the heckler. And to me, the material I was doing, I was making up on the fly, except for a couple ideas. So when he did
Wow.
that, it let me respond, and that made my night, and it made the crowd, and I was just like, yeah, I want to do this. And then the host was cool. He's got a residency in Vegas, a really really good guy, and he just he got me started. And when he got off stage, he goes, I was John's first time. That was great, blah, blah, blah. But then he says, I just want to be there every time somebody heckles him. I'd pay for that. I don't want to miss it after that. That was great. So then after that, if that happened at other places and people knew me, like I another time somewhere else that they were like, Johnny, can you go up and just handle these guys? And I was like, I really wasn't going on. I felt like shit. I came out to support everybody at an open mic, and these two guys were crude to everybody, waitresses and the acts and like really filthy stuff. And I was like, well, they're going to lose two guys of heavy drinking business, the waitress and the barmaid. And they're like, they're the ones that asked me. And I was like, all right, I'll do that. So I went up and all I did is I set them an opening and hammered them and just blistered them, how intellectual level, stuff like that. It was
Glad I
because
don't have any of that right now.
yeah, they were saying dumb stuff, so I was able to turn it on them. They left. Once they left, I turned around and said, "Okay, I'm done." And the guy goes, tell some jokes if you want." I said, "No, I'm good." We're like, leave on that high note. Everybody was happy that I got him out of there. I'm like, I'm done. I did my job. The enforcer did it. I'm gone. It's a lot of fun as long as you don't lose your head, you don't lose your temper.
Yeah.
You can have, like you said, you can have some fun with it.
Yeah, it's got to be fun. It's fun. It's telling jokes,
Oh, that's all it is.
realizing the absurdities in the world, and talking about them.
That's all it is.
Yeah, that's how
Um, I, I'm sorry, I think I cut you off.
I said. That's how I look at it. That's how I look at
Oh,
comedy.
oh yeah, that's good. Um, so who is um who's your comic influence? Was there somebody that you saw or more than one that you saw that said, I'd like to give this a try?
Yeah. So yeah, definitely one is Norm Macdonald. And
Mm.
I watched the old Norm Macdonald where he did the
Oh,
couches with yeah, not Johnny Carson, but he did them with Conan
Conan,
O'Brien and
Letterman.
Letterman, all those guys,
Oh,
Leno, and it was just amazing. It was just hilarious. Then I actually looked into his stand up, which was pretty good. I think he was best on the couch, better than anyone ever, but his stand up
oh,
was also great.
yeah,
But the first person I ever saw do comedy that really wanted me to do it was about 2009, 2010. And surprisingly, I don't think this guy is the best comedian. I mean, he's a good comedian. He's obviously great and he's become huge now, but it was Joe Rogan. So I
oh
never
yeah,
knew Joe
yeah,
as a comedian. I just knew him as a podcast guy.
yeah.
You'd
I
have
remember
Alex Jones
Joe
out
Rogan as
there.
a comic. Yeah,
I saw a video. My buddy Lewis showed me this video of Joe Rogan doing stand up comedy. And he was out there being Joe Rogan 30 minutes and just having people laugh. And
yeah,
it was just a different angle of this guy. And I'm like, how does someone do this? How does someone make someone laugh?
yeah.
And I've always been the class clown, and I should probably take this opportunity to apologize to my teacher because I used 12 years
Yep.
of accounting
Just, you know,
as a comedy experience. So you guys, I'm sorry about that, but here I am. Here we are.
yeah. What are you, some type of comedian? Oh
Oh
yeah.
yeah.
Oh yeah.
And
Now
then
you're right. Yeah, I know I am.
all the teachers, so as the class clown, they'd be like, all right, you want to talk? You're at the front of the room, which is the worst thing they could do. They pretty
Yeah.
much gave you a mic and the whole crowd. And
Yeah.
there was
They
one
think
teacher,
they're embarrassing you. Little do they know they're feeding into what you want to do.
there's a teacher I had. I think she had some experience with this, Miss Jones. I don't know if she's ever going to see this, but she put my butt all the way in the back of the room, like 5 desks behind everybody. Though there's kids that weren't even sitting there, and
Yeah.
that was depression. Like, where's my crowd? And then when you talk, she's like, "Hey, quiet. No one wants to hear it."
Yeah.
And it was you know.
Every once in a while,
So
nobody wants to hear what you're saying, and somebody would go, I kind of do. It's like,
oh yeah, and then,
thanks.
I had a classmate, and he would always laugh, and she's like, "Nope, don't do that. You're encouraging him. Stop that."
Yeah, and then other ones that liked you just went, that's okay. You can encourage him. I saw one kid get kicked out to the principal's office because he laughed, and the teacher said, "Don't do that." And he goes, "Why? He's funny." And she goes, "Yeah, you know what? Just go." I didn't. I'm telling a joke and interrupting. I'm still in the back of the room. He got kicked out of the room. I'm like, oh my God. That's a poor kid.
Like, I know he's not good material, but I don't want you laughing at it.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, oh man, I felt bad because you're actually my first paying audience because you're paying right now. So,
That's true.
oh yeah, it's a lot of fun. I have a blast doing it.
Shout out to the teachers.
Now
We
is
don't
your,
pay you, but thank you guys for
thanks a
dealing
lot.
with
Teachers,
Abu and
teachers
John's.
are the best. I mean, I don't know how they do it, to be honest with you. I really don't. I substitute once in a while, and it's all I can do to get through the day. How these
Yeah,
folks do this every day.
yeah,
Amazing.
impressive.
It really does. And God bless them because they're doing somebody's work, that's for sure. Um, are those the same folks who's your expo right now? Do you have a favorite comic that you like to watch or see?
I do. So as far as pure stand up goes, I like so Shay Gillis. He's a young guy who's really
Yep.
killing it.
Yep.
Shay, I like Mark Norman, even though I don't really like his material very much. I
Right.
do like the way that he writes and tells jokes.
Right.
He's spectacular. And then Tony Hinchcliffe, Kill Tony. He's one of the biggest comedians right now. I've been watching him for a few years here, and he's more of that dark sort of locker room, goofy material.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not something that the family would listen to, but Most recently, my wife and I just watched Mike Birbiglia.
Mike
I
Birbiglia.
think kind of sounds like my name, but I'm still butchering it. And he has a unique, amazing way of doing comedy that I haven't seen before. So,
Yeah,
yeah, Mike Birbiglia.
yeah, he's good, and so is and he's clean as Brian Regan.
Brian Regan, yeah. So that's one of the ones that I actually grew up actually watching. I thought he was good. And there's one other one that really stands out, and it's kind of from my generation. His name was and I just blanked on him. He's from Boston. You help me out. Um,
Dane Cook.
Dane Cook. Dane Cook was just when I was just getting out
He
of
was
high
hot
school.
for a while. Yeah,
Yeah, we listened to Dane Cook on repeat, and that just killed. That was
yeah,
I thought that was the be all end all of comedy.
yeah.
And then obviously Chappelle, Dave Chappelle, Louis C.K., those guys,
Well, Louis C.K. They're the guys I tend to move toward. Of course, in the
greats.
early '90s, Eddie Murphy was the big thing when he did stand up. Oh, it was
Yeah.
huge.
Late
Uh,
80s, early 90s. So you know
yeah,
what's funny, John? I wasn't even born then.
I knew you were going to say that. That's why I hesitated saying the time frame. I was just going to go. There was a while ago when Eddie Murphy was, but
But I
Eddie.
agree. And another one, I know he's kind of got a bad a little stain to his name, but Bill Cosby.
Yeah,
Bill Cosby was unbelievable stand up.
Cosby back in his day was, and a lot of his stuff is still relevant today. But I mean, as a human being, you can't condone anything he did. But as a take that part of the equation out and just listen to his comedy, and you're gonna be like, my God, this guy was hilarious. He was hysterical. I mean, he's got comedy albums out there that are just,
Unbelievable, yeah.
yeah. And he had
The
a
what is
couple of
making the
specials that
case.
were just unreal.
No, he was unbelievable. And then that ties in with Mark Norman and Bill Cosby. So when that happened, you know what some news anchor said the worst part about what Cosby did was the hypocrisy.
Yeah.
And Mark Norman, not Mark Norman, sorry, Norm Macdonald said, "Well, I would disagree. I would say the raping
The
was
rape,
probably worse,
the rape is probably, the worst thing. Yeah.
but
Yeah.
hypocrisy is pretty bad.
Yeah.
Hypocrisy is pretty bad."
And you're right. He would say hypocrisy, not great, pretty bad, not a good thing, but I disagree. Norm Macdonald could point out the most intricate little things. And he had sets he would purposely bomb. And there are
Yeah,
stories out there that he would purposely bomb. Um, Adam Sandler used to tell the story because I guess he was one of a group of them that traveled all together a couple years before he passed away. Sandler, Spade, a couple other guys. And they were
um,
traveling together on this tour. Rob Schneider, a couple other
mhm.
guys. Uh, and they said what Norm would do is if he had a good set, he just went in the back. He didn't come out. He didn't take accolades from the public or anything else. If he had a bad set or if he bombed, and sometimes he'd bomb on purpose, he'd say, I'm not going to. He'd go and meet everybody at the door as they were leaving, say, thanks for coming. Hope you had a good time. Just
Yeah,
to hear if they said anything or whatever. It was like those are the shows they said Norm would stand at the door and just greet people on the way out the
yeah.
door.
You want to hear something funny? I had a moment like that. Actually, it was the comedy competition in Manhattan that you won.
Oh, thank
Remember
you.
that?
Yep.
Yeah, you won the
Yeah,
competition.
I got a big old trophy. I was surprised I got a trophy, but that was nice.
I had a not so great set. I wasn't feeling well. I was off, and the crowd feels that when you're not
Yeah,
there.
they do. They know it.
And I felt like I came in with good material. I felt like I came in there to win,
Yeah,
and I did it. And I didn't perform well. I'm not gonna say that they didn't vote right. They
right.
voted for the guy, I guess. I mean, I don't know. I'm not saying stolen election, but you won after that
Hey,
show.
hey, hey,
After that show, I was at the door and I greeted everybody, and they were like, "Oh, hey, you." A couple people were like, "Oh, I like that one joke." I was like, "Oh, yeah, Roger Virgilla,
hey.
Roger Virgilla,"
Yeah,
and yeah, you're up there dancing around with your trophy while I was greeting the disappointed
you
fans.
agree to disappointed people, right? Yeah. Well, I didn't know there was going to be a trophy. I didn't really think I won. I never, and I, when I do a contest, I go out and I try to do the best I can, but a lot of times I forget it's
Never.
a contest. I go up and I'm just doing a set. I just want to go up and have fun with you folks. And then when you get the light, it's the same light you get at a show or an open mic. So it's still a light. So a lot of times if I've done contests, I forget that it's a contest. But that always, for some reason, seems to work out for me. And it works out because I go to have fun.
Yeah, you do well at the contest. I mean, you're obviously a seasoned pro, but you do
Uh,
very well at the contest. What
season
do I gotta do?
almost.
What do I gotta do to win a contest?
What do you have to do to win a contest?
Yeah, be more
Uh,
likable.
keep
Be more
no.
fun.
Well, I don't think I'm likable. I'm up there whining and telling people what's wrong with me the whole time. So it's like, oh my God, this guy's a whine. So I don't think I'm necessarily portrayed as a likable person. I think part of it is just keep plugging. Seriously,
Yeah,
keep plugging, um, edit and practice. Um, I would say record sets, even open mic sets, even if it's just
oh, I
audio.
do, and that it's so hard to listen to yourself.
It is. That's the part that's really hard, listening and watching yourself, which are really almost two different things. I think I better edit, I edit better when I just listen because then I can hear crowd reaction, but I can also hear my joke and where is it long? Where is it? What can I chop out of it without affecting the joke?
Yeah,
Because
trim the
you got to
fat.
leave a little bit in. You don't want to take everything out because then your joke, your punchline isn't going to hit. But there are sometimes things that you explain too much. And to me, if you can edit it down, it might give you time to tell a couple more good jokes.
Yeah,
So
that's what I tell all these kids too. Is saying, get to the punchline. Yeah, get there quick. Get there quick.
yeah, get there as quick as you can. Edit what you can. And the best way to do that is to record in some manner. And when I've seen video recordings, um, though I'm still trying to listen to the sound, you're right. Seeing myself really throws me off, because you start looking at how your body, I pace quite a bit, and I never noticed that until I watched it first one time, and I was like, oh my God, if I'm people in the audience, this guy's back and forth, back, I gotta slow that down. So
You
um
actually told me the old trick where you put your hand on the
yeah,
mic
I
stand.
do that. Yeah. Some guys do
Yeah,
it. It's always
I
best if you're not
don't
going
do
to
that.
use that, move it away from you so people aren't distracted.
Yeah, and that's a rookie thing there. Get it out of the way that you don't
Up,
need people to see
move
that.
it, and then you've got the microphone and that kind of thing. If not, like I'll lean on it just to try to stop myself from moving around a little bit. But everybody's a little different in that regard. But yeah, don't don't let anything external give the audience a chance to be distracted from you because you need
Do
their
you still
attention.
get nervous? Sorry, we keep talking over each other, John. Sorry,
No,
this is
you're
my
okay.
first time.
No, you're okay.
Do you still get nervous going up to do a set?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
I will
yeah,
say open mic not as much.
I
Um,
do too.
because I do have in my head, here's some new stuff I'm going to try, and my purpose is a little different. I want to make people laugh, but I also know I'm trying to work on this material or I'm trying to work on this set. But a show and a contest, absolutely. And I think the day that you don't get a little bit nervous is the day that you're not going to have a good set, probably. Uh,
Yeah,
and if
getting
that
control.
happens over and over continuously, then you might want to think about becoming a writer instead of a performer.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and then speaking of writing, do you sit down and actually physically write? How do jokes come to
Yeah.
you?
Yeah. I'll get an idea or I'll see something or I'll have experienced something or I'll have done something. Like a lot of my stuff is stuff I've done. And I'll write down the premise. I'll write down whatever the thesis of it is, the main point. And is there anything to get to that in my mind? Or did I do anything sometimes to get to that? Like there's one story. I met Ron White at Dangerfields and he had come in.
Broadway.
I was just getting on stage. Didn't nobody knew he was coming in. And what happens with those guys, like with Dangerfields, which is going to reopen, is a place called Rodney's now in New York.
Same place?
Yeah, same building. They've renovated it. I got a thing to go back if I want, probably in the spring or summer, which is great.
All
Yeah, I'll go in a
right.
heartbeat. That'd be awesome. Um, but those guys, when they're that big, they could call up and go, "Hey, I'm doing a special soon. I want to get 15 minutes to practice," and they could call that night. Okay, boom. Oh yeah, if you're Dangerfields, you want Ron White walking in the door, you know. You want that reputation that anybody could commit at any time. We don't know. So he came in apparently as I was just getting on stage. So I did my set and I tell this story, and I don't know if I've done it, so I'm not going to go into it, but it's about being in South Jersey. And I went up saying I have problems, and it goes on and on and on. And I got done, and the host, who's actually still a friend of mine, we still talk, uh, introduced me to him as I came off stage. And like I said, I was on stage with a beer in my hand, the only beer I'll have all night long, but most people don't know that. And I'll say I have a problem. I get off stage and I got this beer in my hand, and he introduces me to Ron White. And I'm like sitting there with a beer in my hand, thinking he's gonna think I stole his thing. His whole shtick is having, a glass of booze in his hand, or at least it used to
The
be.
one that started. Did
Yeah,
Ron White start?
you were cut out there.
Sorry, I said that Ron White start the whole thing having a drink on stage.
Other people used to do it, like Dean Martin did it, and other people did it, but I think he's the one that really made it more famous and more well known than anything else. And he looked at me and he saw the look on my face, because David introduced us, and he says, "I'm just going to ask you two things." He goes, "First off, don't worry about the beer in your hand because I drink." He goes, "Because I'm on stage with bourbon. That's fine. And you were drinking it, so it wasn't phony. That was fine." And then he was like, he just asked me, "Did any of that story happen?" Which I'm not going to say the story because I might be doing it on the second at least. He goes, "Did any of that really happen?" And there were jokes in the story as well. And then the punchline, I went, "Yeah, actually, it all happened." He goes, "Are you serious?" And I went, "Every bit of it." I said, "Don't get me wrong. I told it, it was in sequence. I told it, in a way that people would, but actually, the factual stuff all actually happened." And he just looks at me and he just says,
Yeah.
"Well, then keep on doing that." He goes, "Because that was funny." He goes, "I
Yep.
like that." And I was like, that makes you feel
Really?
so good. And the crowd did like it. It wasn't like it bombed and he's just encouraging me. The set went well. And he was like, "Keep doing that." He goes, "Because that's funny right there." So I was like,
And
"Cool."
that's one thing I realized. The more genuine it is, the more laughs you're gonna get, the more people are gonna be able to relate and see like this
Yeah,
guy's real. This guy's telling real things,
that's exactly
and
true.
that's where these families. See, I've unlimited jokes for my family just with what kids do and
Yeah.
the husband wife scenario. So
I've seen,
yeah, no, I mean people tell it as it is because we could all make up jokes or tell street jokes, and that's
yeah,
one thing that kind of bothers me about people is just telling the street jokes at open mics or even at shows. It's like, dude, we've all heard those.
yeah.
Give us
I,
something from you.
yeah, something that came from me and people can tell that it did. You know what I mean? People know
Yeah.
that it's being genuine, and they know the difference between a genuine take on something that really happened a lot or something you just made up and wrote. So um, I think that's about all I got, except we do need to let you folks know that March 2nd, uh, doors open at 7, show starts at 8 at the Dog House in Rossville, Kansas. Don't miss us. Ben Dabrowski, uh, Roger here, myself, and Dylan. Dylan's last name is what again, Roger?
And how?
Dylan Howell. Dylan Howell's going to host, and he's a great young up and coming comic as well. We're going to have a lot of fun in Rossville. We really are. So get your tickets. You can go on, I think, bendabrowskicomedy.com. Uh, and you'll see that. Just start putting in Ben Benedict DAB, and it'll pop right up on your Facebook page if you want.
We've already sold some tickets. We did that Silver Lake show. We had to turn away several people, a couple dozen, I think, at the door.
Wow.
So get your
Wow.
tickets. This is a little bigger venue. It's a
Yep.
great place. Drinks very affordable. Great time out. Come out, see some goofy guys, tell some jokes.
Goofy is a perfect word. There's something wrong with each one of us, I think. So and that's going to come
Right.
out
I think there's something wrong with every comedian. There's got to be, and we didn't talk
pretty
about
much.
that. But,
Well,
you
if you're going
know,
to be a comedian, that means there was probably something wrong. Just your interest in doing it means there's something wrong with you in the beginning. If nothing
upbringing.
else, you need some attention.
Yeah, John, were your parents? Did you grow up in a broken home, or did you have a pretty normal home?
Oh no, it was broken. You you
Yeah,
you couldn't fix that with duct tape, epoxy. That was broken big time. You, construction workers couldn't have fixed that broken home. I mean, it
yeah.
was so.
So there's that
And
trauma.
a lot of comics come through something in their childhood, and that's what kind of kicks them. Gets them kick started, because comedy sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes is actually therapy. Sometimes
Absolutely.
they tell you that comedy sometimes is therapy. It's how people distract themselves from their problems or their emotional issues because they get it out a little bit, and they realize that at some point, if I look at it from this perspective, it's actually pretty funny. It's pretty stupid, that people went through this or did these things. So, um, you see a lot of comment, but there are quite a few who actually take exception to that and say, "Well, no, he didn't really have to have a problem to be funny." Okay, well, you're right. I'm not,
Yeah.
and
Far in
I'm glad,
between. Yeah, I guess
yeah, I'm glad for you. That works great. I'm glad you had a good childhood, and it's nothing against you.
oh no, single mother. She had. I grew up with five brothers, single mother. So mom, thank you. My mom was a really strong woman. Yeah, and that's a lot of things that I thought about, and I think that kind of made you act up and be
Oh
look
yeah,
for it. Funny.
yeah, looking for attention all the time. You want people to pay attention to you because you might not be getting it somewhere else.
Yeah.
So, or it's just your personality. Mine was a mixture. I didn't get what I wanted, but it didn't matter because I was a little, I was, I was a little jerk. Back then, they didn't have computerized report cards, so they used to say, and they didn't notice that you had ADD or HDAD. Those things weren't labeled yet.
They weren't invented yet.
They weren't,
No.
yeah. But they would say, John can be smart when he wants to be, but he'd rather walk around and talk to the other kids and flirt with the girls. So I was like, the last part was the part to save me because even my dad, and we weren't, but even my dad was like, well, at least he's flirting with girls. To him, that was the bright side. Everything else, but I think it labeled the point, and they would say the same thing every marking period. And finally, one time he did finally say, you need to stay, you need to, okay. But it
That's
was,
your dad. That's how your dad sounded.
no. But I won't say how my dad sounded. Okay. At least not right now. That might be that is part of one little bit that I do, but yeah, that's not how he said. My grandfather sounded like that. There was an old cartoon called Hillbilly Bears, and the grandfather used to sit on the porch and and you never understood a damn word he said. My grandfather talked like that, except for the last word was always a swear word.
Yeah.
Son of a. It was like he'd go on this rant and you didn't know a dang thing he said. And then finally at the end, he'd say a bad word. Oh, okay. I guess the rest of it was describing that. But
Great. John, hey, thank you for the time. I had a
well,
good time.
we're going to wrap it up right here, buddy, if that's all right with you. Let's get
Let's
out of
do
here.
it. Yeah. We have anything else? You have any more questions? Nothing
I'm
there?
good. I'm good. Just make sure everybody comes to see us on March 2nd.
Yep.
We're in Topeka tomorrow night. We want to see some really up and coming comics come out to Happy Bassett, Top Cities open mic tomorrow night. Ben Dabrowski's holding the show March 2nd again. Doors open at 7. Comedy starts at 8 at the Doghouse in Rossville, Kansas. Please come on out and see us and support live comedy. And it's live local comedy, so it's going to be a great time.
And let me, if you don't mind, if I get a couple here, February 17th, Cox Barbecue. There's a competition. I don't know if you're gonna be there. I'll be there.
I can't make that.
March 1st, I'll be doing the Cosmos with Top City.
Oh, yes. Okay, yes.
I'll be there. That's Friday night and then Saturday night. So I'm back to back nights.
Back-to-back nights. Big time.
Saturday night. Come on out. It's always fun, you guys.
It was a fun
Love
time.
time. Thanks,
Always.
John.
Nope. Thank you, Roger. Once again, we want to thank Dennis and Graldi and everybody down at Vineland Realty Corporation, 634 East Landis Avenue in Vineland, New Jersey, 856-690-9482. And like we said before, you can call them even if you're not from South Jersey, and they can steer you in the right direction. Again, that's Vineland Realty Corporation, 856-690-9482. Thanks to those folks for letting us do this. And
Yeah.
Roger, thanks a lot for coming on tonight. We will see you, if not tomorrow night, definitely February 17th, March 1st, March 2nd. Go look for Roger. He's got a Facebook page. You can find him on social media. And that's Roger Rebeglia.
Not as good as not as good as the first time.
That's good for Rebeglia.
Rebegilla.
Rebeglia. There we go.
Rebegilla. It's in the ballpark. You're
It's
doing
in the
fine.
ballpark. If you type in Roger REB, it's going to come right up on Facebook.
Yes, sir.
All
Good
right.
night. God bless everybody. Thank you.
Good night.
Guys.
Good night,
Good
Roger.
night.
Take care of yourself.
Bye-bye.
See ya.